Hey, what's up, you guys? So, most of you guys probably won't find this interesting at all. You guys will probably um, find this quite boring. So, for those of you who have no desire to hear this, I do apologize in advance. But then again, I don't apologize because you decided to watch it. There's a little X in the right hand corner, I think. You can click that bad boy and get out of this if it gets too boring. But no, I guess I just wanted to kind of share my story with running. For those of you who have been friends with me for a long time, you guys probably remember that, gosh, from about 2008 to 2015, I treated running and racing like a full-time job. Um, Once every couple weeks, I was out doing races. And keep in mind that I'm one of these guys who's just very average as far as like the times I ran. Never a front, leader of the pack guy. Just never one of those. I was always middle of the pack, talent wise. And believe me, it's not because of lack of effort. I was training my ass off. I was training my ass off for 7 or 8 years in a row, 6 days a week, sometimes twice a day, just trying to get better little by little. And I didn't mind putting in the hard work because I was passionate about it. And this OCD thing, I've been blessed with, man, running consumed me, and it was life for me. So 2008 rolls around. I just decided to dive in head first, right? Do a 5K without really even knowing how to train properly. And it was horrific. The time was like 30 minutes. It was awful. I couldn't even finish the thing without stopping to walk a few times. So I had no idea what I was getting myself into. And then, I think that was the end of 2008. And then 2009 rolls around. And I continue doing these 5Ks, like one or two a month. And I continue having to stop and walk a few times, but my times were improving. So it was like from 30 minutes to like 29 to 28 to 27, So regardless, I was seeing improvements. I was getting a little quicker, getting fitter little by little. And because of that, it kept me motivated. And I think it wasn't until I think late 2009 when I was able to finish a 5K without stopping to walk once, and still at that time, I still had no idea how to train properly. I was doing some running, but it was like all hard running, very low mileage weeks. I mean, you're talking maybe 5 to 10 miles a week, all hard stuff. So I had no idea about recovery runs. I had no idea about tempo runs. I didn't know any of that stuff. So I was walking in the dark, and man, looking back on it, I wish I knew then what I know now, about training and stuff. But then 2010 rolls around, and I start to dig into reading articles, books, magazines, anything, so I can learn how to train properly because I was improving, so I was getting motivated, but I was also frustrated because I didn't feel like I was progressing enough at the rate I wanted to. I wanted the results to come faster. I felt like there was more improvements to be made in like half the time it was taking me. So I just consumed myself with doing as much research as possible, and I finally figured out how to train properly and figured out the importance of base building. 3 or 4 months of just easy running, slowly, gradually building up your mileage over the course of like 3 or 4 months, and then leading into speed work. And then, man, come fall, you're running your best times, because you've built that big aerobic base, and then you've also done months worth of speed work. And so I put together a plan that was basically January through April would be like base building, right? just gradually building up my mileage. Slow, easy efforts, like one hard run a week, one tempo run a week. And for those of you who aren't familiar with tempo runs, it's basically just like anywhere from 15 minutes to 45 minutes or whatever. It's different depending on what distance you're racing and fitness level and stuff like that. But it's basically just a prolonged effort at like a comfortably hard pace. So like on a scale of 1 to 10, it'd be like a 7 or an 8. So you're running hard enough to where after 10 minutes, you can feel the lactic acid building up in your legs. You can feel that burn. What it does is it teaches your body to rid the lactic acid, to flush the lactic acid out of your legs. And so over time, your body gets better at flushing that lactic acid out so that, in the future, you don't feel as much lactic acid. Because once the lactic acid builds, it slows you down because your muscles get heavy. So it helps to teach your body to resist that lactic acid for longer. So you're able to push harder for longer before, you really get that lactic acid buildup. And so I started doing that once a week. And then the summers I would do speed work because it was hotter than hell outside anyway. So it was almost impossible to get a good racing time is what I discovered early on. So I would just bust my tail all summer. And then by the time fall rolled around, temperatures were more favorable. It led to beautiful times. I mean, PRs, and that's why the fall season for me, it was always the best part of running and racing because I was able to see the results of all the hard work I put in all year leading up to it. The end of 2008, 30-minute 5K, right? By the time 2015 rolled around, 22:33, and that's where my 5K PR stands, 22:33. That's over the course of 7 years. So shaving off about a minute, little over a minute per year, that's a pretty good chunk of time off, But it's a double-edged sword here because the fitter you get and the faster you get, the harder it becomes to run new PRs because, at the beginning, it's easy to shave off a lot of time in big chunks because you're not as fit. And so, those gains come quick, and they come fast and furious. But as you get fitter, it becomes harder because you've shaved off so much time already that, in the past you were aiming for shaving a minute off of your 5K time, right? But then come 2015, I was aiming for 10 seconds off of my 5K PR. You know what I mean? So it just, it's not all that different than if say you're trying to lose body fat, right? If you have a lot of body fat, it's easy to lose quite a bit at first. But once your body adapts and, it gets better at shedding the fat, it resists to it. You have to do different things. You have to think outside the box to trigger that new fat loss as you get leaner. It's kind of like that with running and racing. As you get faster, it's harder because you're fitter for one, so that means you have to push even harder in training to get results because your body has it's grown accustomed to the training you're doing. So now you have to find new ways to shock the body into getting faster. So anyways, 2015 rolls around and I'm running 22:33 for a 5K and 6:23 for a 1 mile. And to kind of throw the big picture at you guys, what was it, 2010, I think my mile time was 8 minutes, or 8:08 or something like that. So, going from 8:08 to 6:23 over the course of 5 years, I'm very, very happy with that. I always said my long-term goal was to run 6 minutes or sub 6, but I always knew that realistically that was going to be tough. I knew that there was a chance, but it was one of those things where, like, if I ever ran sub 6, it was going to be like 5:55. It wasn't going to ever be like 5:30. You know, you can just kind of gauge and tell where your body's at and what's realistic and what's not. You know, but I'd be thrilled to even run another mile PR. You know, so my mile PR is 6:23. Man, if I ever decide to dive into full-time running and racing training again, I'd be thrilled with 6:20. You know, because like I said, as you get fitter, it's about seconds now. It's not about shaving minutes off. It's about seconds. And you're working twice as hard to shave off, you know, a fraction of what you were able to shave off when you first started. So that it's tough. But it's just the reality of it. So you can choose to either embrace it, or you can, you know, just deny it, you know, and pretend it's not reality. But yeah, so 2014, 2015 were by far my best years. You know, man, I was racing probably 12 to 15 times a year. I was working with a running club in St. Paul, doing USATF, Minnesota State team circuit with a club in St. Paul, and man, it was just, those years were great, man. It was full steam ahead. 2014, 2015, and 2016 rolls around, and automatically it was like right when I was supposed to start racing that year, I got sick with a really bad cold. Lasted 2 to 3 weeks, so I was able, you know, I had to decrease my training mileage. And then when I got over that cold, I had to build it back up. So by the time I did my first race in 2016, it was like, it was early June, and in years prior, it would have been like early April, you know, so automatically I like lost 2 months, you know, so I felt like I had to rush the process, because your window of opportunity is limited in Minnesota, because, you know, if you start in April, I had found from past experience that I ran my best times in November. So starting in June, now mentally I'm thinking, okay, am I going to be able to get where I need to be, where I want to be in November? Because if I can't, then I'm screwed, because come December, there's a good chance there's going to be snow, and then all PRs go out the window, because, you know, you can't run fast times in snow. So, man, it was like I felt like I was just like on a fast track trying to play catch up. You know, basically did 5 or 6 races in 2016, and it's just none of them were very satisfying. You know, I didn't run the times I thought I was able to. I just didn't get out of my body what I thought I was going to, and it was frustrating, because I felt like in training sessions, man, my times indicated that I was in good shape, that I was capable of running the times I wanted to. But when the races came, and, you know, man, the bright lights came on, so to speak, I couldn't put it together, man. And so, but what really made that 2016 shitty was the Minnesota Distance Running Association does a Labor Day 5K and 10K, and the courses are like made for PRs. So I decided to do the 5K, because I thought, you know what, if everything goes right, I'll be able to run a 5K PR. And after you do this for years and years, it becomes about running PRs. You know, at first it was kind of like, okay, I want to place in the top 3. You know, I want to get an award at these races. But then I started to care less and less about that, and it was more about just personal progress, running PRs. And ultimately, those two they go hand in hand, personal progress and PRs. It's about running faster than you have. So if you're not running faster than you have, in my opinion, or running further, or doing something that shows you've made progression, then it's pointless, man. It isn't about the awards at the end of the day, you know. It isn't about that stuff. It's just not about that. It's not about the awards you bring home after these races. No, it's about the proof in the pudding, being able to see on a result sheet that you've ran faster than you ever have in the past, or that you've run further than you ever have in the past. That's what it's about, and it took me a few years to realize that. But anyways, that September rolled around in 2016, and like it didn't go well. By 1 mile in, I was running like 8 minute pace, and I needed to be more around like 7:15 pace to run a PR. And by the time I hit the mile and a half turnaround, I was feeling like shit. And by the time 2 miles rolled around, the wheels had fallen off, and it didn't make sense to keep going because I was so far off pace. I wasn't going to hit it. The conditions were awful, super humid, hotter than hell. And I just thought, you know what, I'm going to live to fight another day. I'm going to bow out here and live to fight another day. Try another race in a few weeks. So I did, man. I took the walk of shame back to the start line, which was the finish line as well. Took that walk of shame and tried to regroup, and did something a month later, and it went a lot better. But I was still like 30 seconds off of a 5K PR pace. So it was still disappointing, but things went much better. So like after 2014, 2015, I think I might have taken things for granted, just kind of expected every year after to kind of follow that same line of travel and just progress every year, getting better every year. And then it hit me like a freight train, like a semi-truck, when I realized that that's not how it goes, dude. You're going to be throwing curveballs. You're going to have to learn how to deal with it. You're going to have off years. That's just part of life. And, so after 2016, I just decided I was going to take a little time away from this. I was going to think about it, whether I wanted to, continue the 6 days a week of running, completely obsessed about it, my entire life revolving around it. And I'm one of these guys, I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't go out and party, so it's not like there were any, other things that got in the way of me getting back to that 2014, 2015 form. It was just had an off year, and really no excuses. I mean, there were a couple hiccups along the way, but really no excuses. Nothing that I can point to and be like, okay, that's why I had an off year. So I just decided I need to sit back and look at it, because I'm 33 now. Granted, I ran my best times when I was 30, but it still makes you wonder, have I done the best I can? Like, is there any more in my body to pull out in terms of getting faster, better running, better racing performances? I'm only getting older. I've had arthritis in my neck since I was like 18, so that high impact nature of running obviously makes this neck arthritis a thorn in my side. Then I have spondylolisthesis in my lower back, so everything down there is all screwed up and everything's misaligned, so leaves you vulnerable to muscle pulls, muscle strains, things like that. So it's just, yeah, man, a lot of thinking right now, but the reason I'm deciding to come up with this video now and talk about it a little bit is because these past few weeks I've been increasing my mileage a little bit, been, dabbling with a few workouts here and there, and I guess my times and stuff have been a little more encouraging than I had anticipated they would be. So now it has the wheels turning, and I'm just wondering if this is something I want to give another go at, because any way I look at it, I only have a few more years left if I want to run PRs. Realistically, once I'm 35 or 36, I think my better days are behind me, no matter how hard I'm training. So it really is crunch time for me to decide, do I want to get back into running and racing, or don't I? So the wheels are turning.